I truly think that it is one of the best Alcaraz versus Sinner match I've ever watched. Welcome, tennis fans, to Tennis Traverse, Exploring the Game, the podcast that delves into the heart of the tennis world. I'm your host, Ivy Zhang, and in today's episode, I will be talking about the Asian swing, including the China Open and the Shanghai Masters tournament. So I want to start off by saying thank you guys so much for all your support for my other episodes. I feel like I've gained a lot of listeners, and I'm really happy that you guys decided to join me and everyone in this journey together. And I do want to say, for those of you who are new, that I have a newsletter and it's on Substack. It's also linked in the show notes. So if you guys want to get a newsletter mailed to your inbox every Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, please feel free to just type in your email. The newsletter covers a glimpse into the episode on Monday, and I think sometimes I would, for example, for a Grand Slam, I will be posting the whole draw analysis on it, so you guys can follow along while I give you guys a large preview. I think it's really useful, and I promise I'm not going to flood your inbox. It's just going to be one email per week. So if you guys are interested in that, please feel free to go to my show notes and type in your email. But without further ado, let's get started. So I want to start by talking about the China Open, and I think for the ATP side, it is just, in my opinion, a classic top seeds tournament. So let's talk about it. So I think the final is between Alcaraz and Sinner, and that's why I called it the classic top seeds tournament. However, there are still some players that made impressive runs, in my opinion, and a lot of them are actually Chinese. So one of them, I think the most out there, or like the most obvious example, is Yuanchaoketebu from China. So he actually performed really well in the US Open, making it through qualifying, beating, I think, Karatsev in the qualifying, and I don't think anyone expected him to come out. However, he did, and he went pretty far. However, he lost to Casper Ruud, I think. So it's just really interesting to see him carrying his momentum to his home courts. So he beat Rublev with a score of 7-5 and 6-4. So Rublev, of course, he's been struggling, but he also made it really far in the US Open. He made it to the round of 16. So I think it's really interesting to see a player like Yuanchaoketebu beating a player who's been struggling, and his season, I think, has been really just groundbreaking, and I think there has been just so many more Chinese male players that are rising up, such as Zheng, who just won a title, and also Zheng, who's just been performing really well this season. So I think really interesting to see what the next season will bring us. I think right now, especially during Shanghai and China, is a great time for players like them to rise up, just because that's where they're from. But now I also want to talk about Yuanchaoketebu's next round opponent after he beat Rublev, which is Jannik Sinner. So in my opinion, the match was kind of close, especially in the second set. Yuanchaoketebu took it to a tiebreak where he actually lost a tiebreak, but I think it's just really interesting to see him taking it far into this tournament against the best player in the world. So Yuanchaoketebu lost the tiebreak with a score of 3-7. However, I think he had 3 break points. He converted none of them, but I think it's still a great effort from him. And although Jannik Sinner had 11 aces, and he had for example, a 73% win on first serve, Yuanchaoketebu still held his ground, and I think he performed well, and I think there's only positives that could be taken away from this. And I also want to talk about another matchup. Some of these matchups I will leave a link for you guys if I think it's good. So the other matchup I want to talk about is Carlos Alcaraz versus Daniil Medvedev. So Carlos actually won in an easy 7-5 and 6-3. And the reason I want to talk about this match is I want to talk about Daniil Medvedev, because I feel like he's just been like going consecutively really deep in tournaments. However, when he is faced against someone who's like, for example, in the top 5 or ranked a bit higher than him, he just completely breaks down. It's not that he doesn't stand a chance of winning. It's the other player will just often outshine him, and I think that's something he really needs to work on in his off season, on trying to just really give it his best shot against a player who's better than him in rankings. And I think he's been a player who was able to do that, but I'm not sure what happened this season. And now I want to talk about the finals for the ATP side in China Open. So it's between another classic match, I guess, Jannik Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz. And I truly, truly think that it is one of the best Carlos versus Jannik match I've ever watched. I think it's incredible. I think it's just such a great match, and I will leave a link for you guys. So Sinner won the first set 8-6, lost the second 4-6, and lost the third in the tiebreak of 3-7. So interestingly, in the third set, he was actually up 3-love in the tiebreak. However, Alcaraz managed to come back, winning 7 straight points in a row. So it's just a nail-biting match if you guys strongly support one of the players. But for me, it was just entertaining because it's like the outcome, I don't really care about the outcome, but it was just a great match. So if you guys want to watch that match, please feel free to do so by clicking on the link in my show notes. And yeah, now we'll move on to the WTA side. There's a lot to talk about. I guess I want to start off by talking about Naomi Osaka versus Coco Gauff. So this was, I guess, a highly anticipated matchup. Naomi won 3 matches in a row, which she hasn't done in a long time this season. And when we saw the matchup between Naomi and Coco, I think everyone was looking forward to it. And I didn't watch this match because I was in school, but she won the first set 6-4 and then she won the first set 6-3 and then she lost the second 4-6 and then she retired. And according to her statement, she said that she felt something in her back and like during practice, and however she still wanted to give it her best shot, but it just progressively got worse over time. So that's really a sad thing, but I think it's a wise decision for her to just stop playing when it could become like a long-term issue, especially since she's getting older and older. I also want to talk about Yulia Starbotseva. Sorry if I butchered the name, but I really enjoy watching her play. She, I think, stunned everyone by going really deep in this tournament, and she beat some incredible players. So, for example, she played against Kalinskaya and beat Kalinskaya 7-5, 6-0 in a round of 16. And she also came from qualifying and beat players such as Siniakova with a score of 6-2, 6-2. So she's just a player I think I really loved watching even at US Open. It's really funny because I heard other people talking about her and how they were saying she's just such a talented player, and I watched her beat the Chinese Gao Xinyu with a score of 6-3, 4-6, and 6-0, and I just thought that the way she hits the ball is really powerful and it's just incredible to watch, and I'm really glad that she is getting her breakthrough. Now I want to talk about Zheng Shuai, who I think surprised everyone by just going really, really far in this tournament despite just not really having sort of the best, I guess, past 24 matches. She had a 24 match losing streak, but she proved to herself that she is still capable of winning matches that are just, like, she's still capable of winning singles matches. So she beat players such as Emma Navarro along the way, which is super impressive, and she lost to Paula Badosa with a score of 1-6 and the tiebreak score in the second set 4-7 in the quarterfinals of China Open. But I still think it's an impressive run for her, and I think it really will give her some more confidence going into her next tournament, which will be in Wuhan, and she's playing against Yulia Putintseva, who is a tough opponent to play against. And now I want to talk about Mirra Andreeva versus Zheng Qinwen. So this match was interesting in a way that Mirra took the first set, and Zheng Qinwen said in her like sort of on-court interview afterwards that Mirra's ball was like different in a way that it was kind of slow, so Zheng Qinwen had to adjust to it, and Zheng Qinwen managed to beat her in the second set with a score of 6-0. And in the third, I feel like Mirra had so many chances to break her when she's down 3-4. When Zheng Qinwen was down 3-4, but Zheng Qinwen saved like 2 or 3 break points and leveled it out at 4-all. And from that point on, I think Mirra just really needed to work on her mental game, because I feel like she was just completely out of the match, and she lost 3 points in a row on her service game, and she was just immediately down 3 break points. And yeah, it was just really tough to see her sort of fight really hard. However, in the end, I think it's just a mental battle. And I also want to talk about Muchova. I think Muchova is becoming one of my favorite players. I really love the way she plays. I think she plays with so much power, and the way she volleys up at the net is so elegant, and I just love the way she plays. But I think one of the reasons why I truly I'm set on supporting her is because she beat Aryna Sabalenka. Not that because I hate Sabalenka, it's just Sabalenka has been playing so well. Like, I think she was on like a 13 or 14 match winning streak, and Muchova just, I feel like in many point in that match I thought Sabalenka was gonna win for sure, but Muchova just never gave up, and it was truly one of, not really like a good match, but it was just a really close match. So I also have it linked for you guys. And Gauff beating Badosa, I think her coaching split really played an important role in her form. And speaking of separation with coaches, I also want to mention Iga Świątek's separation from her coach. They've been working together for 3 years, and I'm not sure if I take it as a good thing or a bad thing, but I'm really happy that sort of she's getting more voices in her team for her to improve. And Muchova also beat Zheng Qinwen in the semifinals. And to be honest, this wasn't a surprise to me. Muchova's just playing really, really well. And if you guys haven't seen Muchova play, please just go look at her play, because I feel like she's those players who really is talented and knows how to play tennis by just using the tennis court to her advantage instead of just slamming balls from baselines to baselines. She knows how to work the tennis ball, how to suddenly hit a drop shot, make her opponent run forward, and just finish it off with a beautiful volley. And she can just get to almost every single volley. Yeah, like she can use her volley to get to, almost every single passing shot, and it's just beautiful to me. So yeah. Okay, now I want to talk about Shanghai Open. One of the things I want to talk about with Shanghai was Medvedev complaining that the ball doesn't bounce up high enough, and they're dead after like a few games or a few shots. And to be honest, I can't speak much to it, because to me it looks the same, but I think a lot of players have been giving complaints like that, so I really hope they do try to somewhat figure out what they can do. And I also want to talk and mention one of my favorite tennis players, Casper Ruud, not performing really well. I think, despite Roland Garros and US Open, he's not been performing really well, but to be honest, I think it's not because that he's just not performing well, if that makes sense. He's still hitting the ball, he's still trying to go for his shots. I feel like it's sort of the same thing with Shuai, but less extreme, in a way that he's really unlucky, and sometimes he just can't hit his shots. But I think through training, I feel like last season he performed so badly. That's honestly the word for it. And he really trained hard during the off season and really paid off, especially during the start of the season this year. And I hope that he get to just continue his hard training last season, like what he did in last off season, and just hopefully improve his form a little by a little. I think it's really hard to require or like demand a player to consecutively go really deep in tournaments, but I think one of the good things for Casper is that he's been going really deep in like the majors, except for Wimbledon, where he obviously needs more work on. But apart from that, I think he's been doing just incredibly better than what he did last year. And I also want to talk about another Chinese player who performed really well in Shanghai, which is Yibing. So he beat Nicolas Jarry, who is an incredible player who won a title this year. But I think Yibing he's been injured, and for him to come back and be one of the top players, I think is just a really iconic thing for him to do, especially since he is Chinese. So he beat Nicolas Jarry with a score of 6-2, 6-1. Not that much drama there. It's just a really straightforward match. I thought it was going to be the other way around, but really happy that Wu got to come through. And another sort of funny thing is Rublev losing again to a Czech player. I believe it was Mensik. So Rublev lost to Mensik, and a lot of people were joking about how Rublev have an issue with just Czech players. And to be honest, I can't even like argue the other way. I really think he has I feel like he has more of a mental problem competing against these Czech players, because he knows that there's like a record going on that he can't, or like a saying going on that he can't beat Czech players. So he's always trying to prove the other people wrong, but it's not a really good mindset going into like a match like that. And I also want to talk lastly about Djokovic. So Djokovic haven't played in Shanghai for like 3 or 4 years, and he came back and it was a tied first round match, round of 64 match. He played against Alex Michelsen, and he beat him 7-3 in the first set tiebreak and 11-9 in the second set tiebreak. So it was a close match, and I'm really happy he got to came through. I actually didn't watch the match, so I'm going to find highlights for you guys, and I also watch it myself. So I can't really comment on his form, but I think he did what he wanted to do this season. His main goal is to get a gold medal in the Olympics for Serbia, and that's just his goal. And once he completed that goal, I feel like the season is just kind of lost for him, and obviously he still have motivation to go far to win tournaments, but it's just, I feel like, not as strong anymore. But ending on that sad note, I think that's all for today's episode. I feel like I'm a little bit out of it for this episode. I don't know, my mind's just been all over the place, but I really hope you guys enjoyed. There's too many tournaments that are like important. I can't sort of pinpoint a single thing I want to talk about, so it's kind of scattered, but I really hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you haven't subscribed to all of my social medias, you should. That's Instagram and Twitter using @TennisTraverse. That is @TennisTraverse. TennisTraverse. If you're listening on YouTube, comment, like, and subscribe. If you're listening on other streaming platforms, please rate my show. And yeah, I'll see you guys next week, where I talk about the final of the China Open and maybe talk about the end of the season. Well, we're moving towards the end, and there's going to be the WTA and ATP Finals that's coming soon. So can't wait to analyze the result of those matches with you guys, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye!